Hello, everyone, and I would like to first start off by thank you for joining us for today's AccuZip Customer Partner Continuing Education webinar series. Today's webinar is on the AccuZip 6 product, and it's going to be walking you through the USPS full service requirements and walkthrough. Today's webinar is going to be presented by Eric Lambeth. He is our Technical Support Director and a Senior Product Specialist, and I'll be telling you a little bit more about him as we go through some of the beginning slides and housekeeping of the webinar, today's webinar. So today's webinar, as I stated previously, is part of AccuZip's Continuing Education program. The goal of the AccuZip Customer Partner Continuing Education webinar series is to drive customer partner success by providing software and industry support-driven education and best practice expertise. So the Continuing Education Partner Program really is about your success. We want to make sure that you're aware of the tools and the expertise that we have here to offer at AccuZip so that you can use our products and services as well as the services and new offerings of the post office to benefit your business. Going with our tagline, our technology, your success. These webinars are only open to AccuZip customer partners, and they're free, as you know, when you registered. So again, we're very glad that you've chosen to join us today, and we're excited to present this important educational material to you. So I'm going to cover some webinar basics so that you know what to expect. Hopefully some of you have joined from some of our previous webinars, but if you haven't, these are some of the basics that we'll go through, kind of the housekeeping part of the webinar. All of the attendees are in listen-only mode except for myself and the presenter. So if you are speaking, we won't be able to hear you. If you do have a question during the webinar, there is a Q&A chat box in your GoToWebinar control panel. We typically don't answer those during the webinar. Just we like to keep the webinar flowing with the content and the topics that are being presented. But we will, at the end of the webinar, if we have time, we will answer those questions via the chat box. If you have additional questions that you need answered after the webinar, please feel free to send us an email, and that email will be sent to support@accuzip.com. Importantly, please put the subject AccuZip 6 full service webinar question in the subject line. That way those emails will get routed to the appropriate support person or personnel, and you will get a prompt response. There will be a one sheet where we're going to be doing a consolidated one sheet of all the Q&As that are relative to this webinar, and we'll be posting that to our webinars page a few days following this webinar. The big question always is are the webinars recorded? Absolutely. This webinar is being recorded, and it's going to be posted to our website for future viewing. And that URL is at the very bottom bullet point here, accuzip.com/webinars. You'll actually find a lot of information there. You'll find recordings of all of our past webinars, schedules of future webinars. So that's where this webinar will be posted. So if you have to leave or you want to share this with a colleague or reference it in the future, that's where that will be. There will also be some interactive polls throughout the webinar. This particular webinar has 3 poll questions. We really encourage you to participate in those polls. They're a way of letting us gauge, knowing where you're at as far as the process goes, your level of content and knowledge as it relates to the webinar topic being presented. So be on the lookout for those, and Eric, our presenter, will be launching those polls, and he'll also be sharing and discussing those results of the polls throughout the webinar. And so here's a little bit more about today's presenter, who I know is very excited about presenting this webinar to all of you. Eric Lambeth is the Technical Support Director and Product Specialist at AccuZip. Eric's been serving customers in technical support, the technical support department of AccuZip for over 20 years. So he's a very, very seasoned and senior employee here at AccuZip. He's been utilizing his passion for helping businesses solve issues and perform jobs more efficiently. Mr. Lambeth oversees the technical support department of AccuZip. He ensures that support is available in a variety of convenient methods during office hours and even while the office is closed. Mr. Lambeth is a native Californian and spends his free time coaching youth basketball, getting to the beach as much as possible, and passionately rooting for Pittsburgh sports teams. So you guys are in store for a great presentation by Eric. He's full of knowledge, full of personality. So, and most of you have probably even spoken to Eric in some capacity, whether it be in a sales or support role, who are on this webinar today. And then lastly, I'm just going to summarize a quick overview of what this webinar in particular is going to discuss. It's the full service requirements and an overview of those. Eric's going to talk about what is full service. He's going to discuss those full service requirements in detail. He's going to do a live interactive demonstration of some of these components, including how to upload a job to Postal One. He's going to discuss the components of the intelligent mail barcode and also printing a confirmation sheet. So this is a general overview, and then Eric's going to take you in depth of some of the topics and really personalize this webinar from his expertise, his point of view, and how you can best learn about these full service requirements. So with that said, I am going to turn it over to today's presenter, Eric Lambeth.
Hello, Kristen. How are you this morning? Or this afternoon, if you're in the evening.
Yeah.
Good. I had very little sleep last night, Kristen, because I stayed up very late to be watching the NHL playoffs. Every single game, I don't know if you follow hockey at all, but every single game last night ended in overtime. And every single team that won in overtime happened to be losing by 2 goals or more. It was absolutely insane. I didn't even get to finish the Anaheim game, which is pretty much our local team. They ended way too late, but if you are a sports fan, you really should be watching the NHL playoffs. And if you are using AccuZip 6 for mailing, you really should be submitting your jobs full service, and that's what we're going to talk about here today. Now, as far as what does it mean with full service? Well, the Postal Service is trying to streamline the acceptance, the induction, and verification of commercial mailings, and how this happens is when you put your barcodes, your intelligent mail barcodes on your mail pieces, when you put them on your tray tags and sack tags, put your intelligent mail barcode, the container barcode on the pallet cards if you're using pallets, and you submit your paperwork electronically instead of through hard copy, you're submitting your mailing full service. All right, and there are some great benefits to doing full service mailing, so it behooves you to do so. And the nice thing about this is most of what you're already doing in the AccuZip 6 program, you're already complying with full service mailings. You're already putting the intelligent mail barcode on your mail piece, and AccuZip 6 is making sure that your barcodes are unique, which is one of the requirements. When you're printing container tags out of AccuZip, most likely you're already putting the intelligent mail barcode on the tray tag. In fact, you have to go out of your way to not put the intelligent mail barcode on the tray tag. And again, AccuZip 6 makes sure those barcodes are unique, and the same with the pallet cards if you have our pallet module. So a lot of what you already do in the AccuZip 6 program is full service compatible. We'll make a couple of tweaks in this webinar, and I'll also show you how to upload your jobs electronically, which you might not be doing. But otherwise, that's about it. And once you get the hang of this, because there's a couple of steps that you'll do that are one-time steps. But once you get the hang of the flow of doing full service mailings, it is very easy, and you're going to end up in the long run saving time, especially when it comes to dropping off your mail at the Postal Service. Before we continue with my presentation, I'd like to submit our very first interactive poll. I want to get to know our listeners and viewers. So our first poll question is as follows. If you've not submitted a full service mailing, why is that? And for those of you who have done full service mailings, we obviously have a little spot for you to click. We don't want you to feel left out. So it'll take about, most of you have voted here. Once, please, all of you chime in. Don't be shy.
Yeah, those are some great responses. Looks like almost 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, very good. Very good. There are only 4 options here. No reason why you're not clicking on something. Now go right ahead. We have about 10 more seconds, and then we'll continue here. Check out the results. And we're going to wrap this baby up. More results are coming in. It is a very thought-provoking question. So I'm going to share these results with you. Thank you all, by the way, for participating. And I see that most of you already do full-service mailings. A little over a quarter of you haven't had time to learn this stuff. Good, that's why you're here, being proactive. And some of you thought it was too much of a pain to do this. I will say one of the options I had up there, because I have had this question several times, the idea that that full-service mailings have to be palletized, that is actually not true. Now, if you are putting mail on pallets as you drop them at the post office, if you are putting mail on pallets and you are hitting certain minimum volumes like 500 pounds of flats or 72 linear feet of trays, then you have to conform with palletization rules. You can't just throw all your mail onto a pallet. It has to be there has to be pallet level sortation, 5-digit pallets, mixed ADC or open ADC air pallets, so forth, NDC pallets. So we have to do pallet sortation. We also have to have proper barcoded pallet cards. So in cases like that, yes, you would. If you are presenting your mail on pallets, if you're choosing to do that, then you have to follow palletization guidelines. If you're not putting your mail onto pallets, still it's not necessary. There's no requirement to put your mail on pallets. Okay, so let's proceed. Thank you very much for again volunteering your efforts there to do our poll. What I want to show you now, we're going to walk right through this. Specifically how to do full service mailings. And I'll get into requirements right now of full service mailings, just so you know. Again, you have to put unique intelligent mail barcodes on your postcards, letters, or flats. You have to put the intelligent mail barcode on your tray tags. I'm going to show you how to do all these things. If you're using pallets, you have to have intelligent mail container barcodes on those pallet cards, and then you have to submit your paperwork electronically. And we're going to show you how to do all that now. The first thing you need in order to do full service mailings is you have to have an account on the Business Customer Gateway. Now, since we are recording this video, I recommend just watching through this, enjoying the entertainment rather than actually trying to follow this. If you're trying to follow it, I'm afraid you're going to miss some of the steps. So watch along and enjoy. If you do not have a Business Customer Gateway account, it's very simple to do this. In fact, I'll just go to gateway.usps.com right here. I'm not going to sign in. I'll just hit register for free. Okay, and so this is all you have to do. Pick a username. This is going to be your login name. I recommend using an email address for this. It just makes it a lot easier, especially when you lowercase that email address because things are case sensitive. So put in a username. Make sure the username works, and then you're going to enter in your password. Make sure you record that password because when logging into the Business Customer Gateway, you only get about a couple chances to get it right. If you get the login information incorrect, you'll either have to call them to get this thing fixed, or you'll have to wait a day or so. Better to just record this password, keep it in a safe spot where you're going to remember where it is. Pick your security questions, and then you're going to enter in your contact information, email address, phone, and so forth. You'll enter in your address information, as you can see here, company name, street address, and so forth. You'll hit verify address, and that's pretty much it. That creates you your own gateway account. And immediately when a gateway account is created, it's automatically going to create for you a CRID, which is a customer registration ID. Now, a CRID, or a customer registration ID, is a unique number that identifies a specific business location that's involved somewhere in the mailing, whether you're the mail preparer or whether you're the list owner. So a CRID is your specific, essentially, USPS registration number or account number. It also gives you, when you get through this process, it also gives you your own mailer ID, which again uniquely identifies you. And your mailer ID and your creator are going to go into your electronic documentation. Your mailer ID may also end up going into your intelligent mail barcodes. We'll get into that in a minute. So you fill this out, and now you've got yourself a login for the Business Customer Gateway, kind of like we do here. So I'm just going to sign in to ours. Excuse me. And here we are. So I'm logged into the Business Customer Gateway. Now, the next steps I'm going to show you are in the AccuZip 6 program, but first I want to show you this. When you log into the gateway, manage account in this left-hand navigation bar is a very important area that you'll be referencing periodically. I'm going to click on Manage Account and show you what you can do with this. So this, as you can see here, shows the AccuZip CRID, and if I click on this link here, it will show me my mailer IDs. Eventually, here we are. So it shows all my mailer IDs that we have for our CRID. Now I will say, if you have two different AccuZip, if you have two or more AccuZip licenses, I do recommend, well, there's a couple of things you can do. You don't want to repeat serial numbers in your barcodes. And what I've seen some people do is they'll have one mailer ID from the gateway, and on their two licenses or two or more licenses, they'll put that one mailer ID into the AccuZip program on both licenses. Well, when you do that, you run the risk of both computers, while doing the pre-sort, repeating serial numbers. If you repeat a serial number within a 45-day period, you're breaking the rules of full service. They have to be, these serial numbers within the intelligent mail barcode have to be unique for at least 45 days. So if you are using two licenses of AccuZip 6, there is a way to share a mailer ID among the two licenses, but if you don't want to do that, I recommend getting two mailer IDs. That's where I was going with that. So again, under Manage Account, you can request an additional mailer ID. You just hit this button here in the Mail Service Providers area. Now, when you hit Manage Account, if you do not have this Mail Service Providers area down here, you can click on. If you don't have this area is very critical, because when you end up getting CRIDs for your customers, and I'll go over that a little bit later, you'll need this button. So if you don't have this, you can click on Manage Locations up here, and right here where it says MSP, it'll say no. You'll hit Edit here, and you can change that to a yes. Again, doing that, let me see if I can get back here, is going to get you this Mail Service Providers, very important section, and then you can click on Get MIDs and CRIDs, get yourself an extra CRID, get CRIDs for your customers. And again, we'll go over that at a more appropriate time. So that's creating an account or having a look at your account on the Business Customer Gateway. Let's go into AccuZip 6 really quick here and let's see how to set up the AccuZip 6 program so we can do full service mailings. I'm going to click. So this is a list. This is just our demo file within the AccuZip program, and this list has already been run through address validation with NCOA link. My next step is I'm going to go into the pre-sort window. So I'm going to hit this envelope icon to get into pre-sort setup. And I'm going to just choose my full service settings under my Save Settings area. This automatically gives me a new job ID. One of the nice things about the AccuZip 6 program is it always, if you have this Create Unique box checked, it's always going to create for you a new unique job ID for uploading to the Postal Service. You don't want to have more than one job with the same job ID. Some people like to create their own job ID. I just warn you that in doing so, you may have somebody else at another company creating the same job ID, so be a little bit careful with that. I would recommend just checking Create Unique and let AccuZip 6 handle that for you. So as far as what you need to do in the pre-sort setup window, first thing is, we have our class and mail and everything selected. Down here where it says print barcodes and full service IMB rates, you need to have the full service IMB rates box checked. If that's unchecked, you won't get full service IMB rates. This will not be considered a full service mailing. So keep that in mind. Now, up here at the mail drop setup area, the zip code that you put in here should be the zip code of the permit that you're using. So if you're using your own permit, you're going to put in your zip code. In this case, for this webinar, I'm going to put in my own. I'm going to use our own permit. If you're using a customer's permit, the customer's zip code would go into this spot. Okay, and then the next important thing is this Intelligent Mail setup link, and so I'll click on this. Okay, in the Intelligent Mail setup window, this is where we need to enter our mailer ID and our service type. This information is going directly into the Intelligent Mail barcode. All right, so I will expand. Actually, for what I'm doing here is I'm doing standard class. So I'm going to click twice, and you'll notice that when I click on this and click on it again, it highlights my mailer ID so I can type over it. So where do I get this mailer ID? Well, if I go back to the gateway and I view my mailer IDs, and here's one of my mailer IDs. Don't use our AccuZip mailer ID with your own mailings. Get your own mailer ID, put your own mailer ID in there. But here, as far as this webinar goes, I'm going to put my mailer ID into here. And then for the service type, I'll just double click on this little document icon, and that brings up our service types. So when you're just starting out here, if you have not signed up for one of these ACS services with a postal service, really what you have to look for here is you want to choose a mailer ID or a service type, excuse me, that has the word full next to it. Here, 037 manual corrections is a full service type. So I can choose this. If you're an AccuTrace customer, you'll probably want to choose something like 271, destination confirm, full service with IMB tracing. All right, so in this case, though, I'm just going to choose 037 and hit OK, and hit OK again, and I'm all set. So that's really all I need to do to set up AccuZip 6 to do a full service mailing. And then I hit pre-sort. Now, at this point, I can change the mail date to whatever the mailing date is, or I can do that at a later time. At this point, I'll just hit pre-sort. I'm fine with the 18th. And once the pre-sort is finished, it will take me to my print pre-sort window. Okay, and here's where I can print my tags, reports, and labels. The next step in here will be hitting all three of these buttons. You do not want to submit a full service mailing. You do not want to submit your paperwork electronically until you've gone through all three of these buttons. Otherwise, you'll get an error on the Postal One site when you're submitting your paperwork electronically. That's actually one of the nice things about submitting full service jobs is you're going to find out pretty quickly if you've made an error. So whereas if you normally submit your paperwork with, your mailing with hard copy paperwork, a lot of times you'll find out while you're at the post office, or maybe after you've dropped the mail and you've gone back to your office, and then you'll get a phone call with something wrong with your mailing. Well, if you're going to have something wrong with your mailing here when you submit your paperwork electronically, you're going to find out right off the bat before you even take the mail to the post office. So that's one of the nice benefits. There are actually several benefits to submitting your paperwork, or I'm sorry, for submitting a job as full service. And for one thing, again, you'll get this error check right off the bat, so you won't have to wait to the post office until you get to the post office before you have an error. The second benefit is you're going to save a little money on your postage, because what you're doing here with full services is you're helping the Postal Service make your mailings streamlined. Again, the acceptance, the induction, the verification, all this is streamlined. You're giving visibility of this mailing. You're providing visibility of this mailing with all the barcodes on your tray tags and your pieces and so forth. you're making it easier for the post office by giving them the paperwork electronically rather than them having to enter this themselves. So for all these things that you're doing for the post office, you're getting some benefits out of this. As an example, again, the postage savings. You're saving for marketing mail, which is formerly known as standard mail. We're going to refer to it as marketing mail the rest of this webinar. For marketing mail, you're saving 1/10 of a cent on every piece that has that barcode and a ZIP+4. For first-class mail, you'll save 3/10 of a cent for every piece with a ZIP+4 and that intelligent mail barcode. So while it may not be a lot of money for one mailing or for your small mailings, over the course of time, that's really going to add up. Over the course of many mailings, that's going to add up. And if you're competing with another company on a bid, and you can claim that your postage is a little bit cheaper because you're doing you're going the extra 9 yards and submitting your paperwork electronically, doing a full service mailing, well, your postage is going to come out a little bit cheaper with every single mailing. Another advantage is if at least 90% of your mailings are full service mailings, they're going to waive the annual permit fee. So that's a huge reason to do full service mailings. And as you've seen here, after we've done the pre-sort, a lot of this stuff, again, you probably already do. So you're going to waive, the Postal Service is going to waive that annual permit fee if 90% of your mailings or more are full service mailings. In addition to that, full service mailings, again, have this visibility throughout the mailing stream. So through induction, through the first scans, the out for delivery scans, and so forth, you're able to receive tracking information. Now, if you have a good tracking program, a good tracking service, that could really help you, and that could be a nice value that you're giving to your customers. So I want to elaborate that on a little bit, and I'm going to start this off with another poll question. And so I'm going to launch this here, and the question is going to be, how many mailings do you perform per month? And we have options of under 20, 21 to 50, or over 50 mailings per month. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to do that. And while you're, in fact, while you're doing that, I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to pull something up. So I mentioned, actually, and you probably still have the poll up there, so I'll leave this be for just a second. Yeah, wait another about 10 seconds or so. Most people have already voted. Some are probably still counting on fingers and toes of how many they do in a month. And this is just an average. And I appreciate you voting in here. Okay, I'm going to close the polling right now. And I want to share this with you. So let's look at the results here. Kristen, did you anticipate these results? Over a quarter of our participants do over 50 mailings a month.
I know, that's quite impressive, actually.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of mailings per month.
Great.
Well,
that's great. That means you're using the mail and using the software, so that's excellent.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, so when you're doing full service mailings, you have the ability to receive the scan information. Now, the raw scan data doesn't look very attractive, and it's hard to get any good information out of it. So we have this AccuTrace tracking service that we offer that can make sense of your tracking, make sense of your mailing results. So the post office provides this visibility, and now with this AccuTrace service, I can do something like do a results by 3-digit zip code. This is the type of thing that you can give to your customer. A site, a page where the customer can, good point. I gotta hide this thing. Okay, there we go. So now you can probably see this. So imagine giving this a page like this to your customer. Your customer would end up seeing on their own. They receive an email with a link that looks like this, has your company name in there rather than AccuZip. But they get this link that gives them all this job information, how many records they have, how many were scanned, And if they looked at something like the results by 3-digit zip code, they would see how long it takes to get to these different areas. So while you have this visibility because of full service, with the AccuTrace service, you actually can see how long it takes to get to these destinations. You can see which pieces receive their out for delivery scans if your customer needs to do some sort of call to action on those out for delivery pieces. So you're doing over 50 mailings a month. Maybe it's something where you can charge $5 or so, $10 per mailing to your customer. Maybe give it to them for free for a few mailings, and then after a while, charge them. See if they could use this for $5 or $10 per mailing, where they can get that AccuTrace information automatically sent to their email, and learn more about the mailing that you dropped off at the post office for them. So that could be a very valuable tool for them, because at the moment you drop off their mailing and they have no idea what's going on with it until they actually receive some replies from it. But again, if they have to make the call to action, having that information is pretty useful. And so it could be something you give to your customers for free. Maybe you charge them a little bit for it. You can charge them very little and still make quite a profit with that AccuTrace service. So something to think about. So you have all these advantages I mentioned, and let's finish up exactly how to wrap this full service mailing up. I mentioned you have to hit all 3 of these buttons in AccuZip 6, the print tags, the print reports, and the print labels. So when you hit the print tags button, and let me actually back up a little bit, tell you why we're doing this. When you're submitting paperwork electronically to the post office, you're actually you're uploading mail DAT files to Postal One. And I'm going to click on this pre-sort path here and show you what I mean. It's every pre-sort that you do, regardless of the edition of AccuZip 6 that you have, every pre-sort you perform creates these mail DAT files. These are essentially make up what you would consider the mailing statement and the qualification report of your AccuZip reports. And again, these get uploaded automatically to the Postal Service, to their Postal One system. So when I hit the print tags button, and I tell it that I want to, I make sure that this intelligent mail barcoded box is checked, and I hit print. That is going to, and whether you preview it or whether you preview or create a PDF or print a hard copy of the tags, that's going to write some valuable information, including the tray barcodes, to your mail.dat files. When I hit print labels, I don't have to print anything here. I don't even have to export. In fact, here I'll just leave the output on disk file and hit continue. And what will happen here when I hit continue, as you've seen before, I'm sure, it says adding IM barcode data. And so what it's doing at that point, not only is it adding this intelligent mail barcode data to your database, as you can see here, it's also writing this information to your mail.dat files, your mail.pbc file. So every button that you hit here is writing important information to your files that are going to be uploaded to Postal One. And then here's the print reports button that we need to do. So I'll hit print reports. I'm going to show you the most important screen here, which is the mailing statement setup window. If there's something that's going to go wrong, I'm going to hit print here. If there's something that's going to go wrong that is, if there's going to be an error when you try to submit your paperwork electronically, it's going to typically be either because you didn't hit all 3 of those buttons, tags, reports, and labels, or because something in here was accidentally messed up. So I'll show you how to fill this out and the important information to fill out. First, in this middle column, the left column we can leave blank. The middle column, we want to put our mailer ID and we want to put our CRID. So I'm going to go back to, I'll close AccuTrace here, go back to the Business Customer Gateway, and here is my CRID. So I'll just copy this. I'll go back to AccuZip 6. I'll put my CRID in here and in here. Oops. And for the mailer ID, tab back to, tab back to this. Here's my mailer ID. Copy this. And go back to AccuZip 6, put my mailer ID right here. And then I want to put my permit over here. if I and then I'll enter all this information here as well. And then what I actually recommend you do, if you've never saved your permit information before, I recommend filling out this information, entering your permit information, this is your CRID. This is not your customer's CRID or mailer ID. This is your information, the mailing agent. So you'll put in this information, and then I recommend hitting this little new document button and giving it your company name here, your company name, and then hitting save. All right. And then when you, if you're doing this mailing for a customer of yours, you'll put their CRID in here. So where do you get their CRID? Let me go back to the Business Customer Gateway site again. Ooh, that was a close one. Okay, so I'll go back here again. I'm just going to go back to the gateway so we're at a starting point. Again, very important link, manage account. I'll hit this, and then down here in the mail service providers area, I'm going to hit get MIDs and CRIDs. All right, and what I want to do is I want to get a CRID for an individual. They have this bulk request option, so if you have a CSV file of company names and addresses, and you can upload that and get a whole bunch of CRIDs at the same time. But here, I'm just going to do an individual request for a CRID. And you can also look up a CRID if you'd like, but I'll just make one here. So I'm going to do individual requests. I'll do it by address, and now I'm going to enter the customer's information. Here, I will enter in an address of a local Japanese sushi restaurant, and I'll just type this in here really quick. In Paso Robles, California, and 93446. Because I love their sushi so much, I memorized their +4. There we go. I'll hit verify address. And it gives me a congratulations, the address I've provided has been verified as a valid delivery address. Phenomenal. Hit continue. And there we go. So here is my CRID for Goshi. I'll copy this. Let's go back to AccuZip. And I'm going to put their CRID right here. And that's it. And now I will hit a new document, this new save setting icon. I'm going to put in Goshi, and I'll hit save. So one little move here. CRID, save it, and I'm done. And now that gets added to my library of saved permit settings. As you can see here, not a lot you have to put in here. I'll hit continue, and this is when I hit continue, this is going to write this information to the mail.dat files. I don't have to put in name and address information up here because that Goshi information here already has it. So I've now created a business account, a customer registration number for Goshi. So they already know just by having this CRID in here that I already have the name and address. All right, so hit continue here. It's going to write this information in my mail.dat files, and I'm good to go. So now I'm just going to go through that rigmarole, but now I'm officially ready to upload my mailing to Postal One. So how do I go about doing that? Well, I need to get a Postal One application. And to do that, I'm going to go back to the Business Customer Gateway. Let's click on back to Business Customer Gateway. And here we are. So let me go back to the welcome screen. To get this application, I'm going to click on Electronic Data Exchange under Favorite Services. If you don't have it here under Favorite Services, you could always add it. You can just hit this Edit Favorites button, and you can check the Electronic Data Exchange box right here. Okay, but I've already got it. So I'm going to click on Electronic Data Exchange. Look at all these options. So the option I want is going to be under mail.dat support for production. And you just click on the application that you want. I recommend saving it to your desktop. If you want to save it to a downloads folder or something, be my guest. Save it to a location where you're going to know where it is. All right, so you may want to just right click on it, choose Save Link As or Save Target As, oops, and then you're all set. My mouse is giving me problems. All right. Yeah, so anyway, save this, and again, I saved mine to my desktop. So if I come to the desktop over here, here it is. So I downloaded it to my desktop. the next thing you want to do is extract it. That creates this folder. And after you've extracted it, I'm going to open this thing up. And here's the MDR client contents, and the file that we're most concerned with here is the run-mdclient.bat file. If your Windows Explorer or file manager is hiding extensions, it's just going to be called run-mdclient. That is the thing that we double-click on in order to launch the Postal One application. Okay, so what I recommend people do when I show people when I walk people through how to do this, I just recommend they right-click on this and do a send to the desktop shortcut, which is what I've done over here, this full service app. Okay, so there you go. So we've downloaded the Postal One application. We've extracted it, and now we know it's the run-mdclient.bat file that we're going to launch. So let's go ahead and launch that thing. And one of the things you have to do here, I just want to copy my password. One of the things, here, I'll just launch this app really quick. When you launch the full service app, what you have to do is log in with your Business Customer Gateway credentials. Okay, so I will put mine in here again. I recommend it before you use an email address for that username. Make it easier on yourself. So I'll put in the username and password and sign in. There we go. And now we're to the Postal One site where I can upload my job. My job, I'm going to go back to here. So your job, if you're not sure where you save your pre-sort folders, you could always look at this pre-sort path at the bottom of your print pre-sort window. So I could always click on this link. I can click on this folder right here, and then right-click and choose copy, and then that copies my path, and then I can put my path in the Postal One. So here's how this works. I've launched the Postal One application. I've signed in with my username and password. The next move I'm going to make is I'm going to hit this job validation upload button, and then I'll hit the only link that's available here, which is add jobs. I'm going to select the only file that it displays for me because it's specifically looking for a header file. So I'm going to select my maildat.hdr. I'll hit open. And in a second here, it'll give me these two options, just validate or upload after validation. And it shows my job ID. I recommend that you choose the just validate job option and then hit validate because, again, if there are mistakes made, it'd be nice to be able to correct those mistakes. Like, for instance, if you've forgotten to put in your permit number or you made a typo when entering your permit number, that'll show up as an error. If you forget to hit your tags button, which is a very common thing, that'll show up as an error when you attempt to validate. I'm going to hit validate here really quick. But again, if you make an error, it's going to show up right here. And then you can correct that error. It'll say validate failed. You'll be able to view details, and it'll show you what the error is. It's nice to be able to find your errors here before you go to the post office, because what you're going to end up doing with this full service mailing is you're going to submit this mailing electronically to the post office. You're going to take your mail to the post office and drop it off and leave, and that's it. There's no waiting. There's no arguing over postal regulations. You're done. You're out of there. So again, there's a mistake that's going to be made. It's going to be made right here. You can correct it here before you take the time to drive over to the post office. Okay, so validate is completed. Now I know my job looks good. I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to hit the job validation upload again because all I did was verify that the job is good. I'm going to hit add jobs once again. Select that same mail.hdr file. It'll always go in the proper spot. It'll always take you to the proper folder. And now I'm going to choose upload after validation. So this is the actual part where we are uploading the job to Postal One. This is putting your documentation officially on the Postal One website. This is the replacement for taking your hard copy paperwork to the post office. So I'll choose accept agreement. This one always takes a little bit longer than the just validate option, so that's a good thing. The longer you wait here, the better it is. And once it's finished, it should say validate or upload completed. And then you know we're all done and we're ready to take our mail to the post office. And there's one more thing that we're going to do before taking our mail to the post office. We're actually going to accompany that mail with a confirmation sheet. I told you this would take a little bit longer. I wasn't lying. Okay, so upload completed. So now I'm set. I can close the upload status window. I can close the Postal One application. I'm all done. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the Business Customer Gateway. I'm ready to take my mail to the post office at this point. I'm going to go back to the Business Customer Gateway. And I'm now going to go, let me go back to home here for a second. I'm now going to go to the dashboard. This is where my mailing statement is located. And the whole purpose of going to the dashboard is I want to print out a confirmation sheet. I'm going to take this single confirmation sheet with me to the post office just to make it a little bit easier when doing the drop-off. And and this is not a mandatory thing, but it is something I recommend doing. It gives you a little bit of peace of mind, makes life a little bit easier. We're going to drop our mail on the counter. We're going to hand this confirmation sheet over to the postal clerk accepting the mail. They're going to hand scan a large barcode. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. And then again, you're out the door. So all the time that you used to being at the post office, waiting and doing whatever you need to do, arguing over trays and so forth, all that time wasted at the post office, you're now going to be able to transfer that time back to your office, back to your print shop, where you can prepare the next mailing, where you can get on with business rather than wasting time at the post office. So I'm going to hit the dashboard button. Excuse me. And now in the dashboard management system, I want to look at my mailing statement. So I'm going to, in statement statuses, I'm going to choose all. I recommend checking this include closed jobs box and then hit search. Okay, and so what you'll typically do here is you'll end up seeing your job ID listed among these jobs. And all you have to do here is under the postage statement ID column, click on the postage statement. So I'll click on this link, and this gives me details about my mailing, gives me my postage statement. But all I really care about here is the confirmation page. I'm going to click on this confirmation page, and it congratulates me. That's always rewarding. I'm going to click on the printer-friendly version, and as I scroll down, there's that barcode I was talking about. So you'll print this out, you'll hand this to the clerk, they'll use their hand scanner to scan it, and you are out the door. Go get some lunch or something, go back to the office, and get on with your next mailing. All right, so that is how you complete a mailing. So not too bad, right? That is how you complete a full service mailing with the AccuZip 6 program and the Postal One application. So again, we are potentially saving quite a bit of time after you drop off your mail, because we're not going to get that call from the post office with some error about your mailing. So we're going to save time in that regard. And in turn, that saves money because we're being more productive at the office. We're going to save on our annual permit fees. They're going to waive that when I do all of my mailings, or at least 90% of my mailings full service. We're saving money on every mailing because you get that full service discount on every single piece that has a Zip Plus 4. And we get visibility as far as when the mail pieces get scanned throughout their time in the mail stream. So a lot of advantages to doing a full service mailing, and that leads us to our next polling question, which is, you're gonna love this one. Now that you've watched this webinar, will you start doing full service mailings? Oh my goodness. Somebody put no just to be funny. I hope you're putting no just to be funny. If you are putting no, wow, and you're not being funny, I would love to receive an email.
You want to know why? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to receive an email. Where should we send that email? Directly to me, Kristen? I wouldn't mind fielding that.
No, send it to support@AccuZip.com and put the subject today's webinar, and you can put - not doing full service.
Yeah, tell us exactly why.
Send that to support@AccuZip.com. And that may go in line with, I noticed, and I think it was the first poll question, there was an option that Eric gave of other reasons why you are not currently submitting full service. So same thing, we'd want to know that if it's possibly the same reason why you're currently not submitting and why you won't be after watching this webinar.
I can tell you that a lot more people now will be, a lot more people now will be doing full service mailings that were not doing it beforehand. So this was useful. Another useful thing is our support options. We have support through live chat. Hopefully you guys are using that through email and through phone. But the reason I mention that is if you're apprehensive about doing this because maybe it seems a little bit tricky, you have to get all your I's and dotted and T's crossed and so forth. Well, let us walk you through the full service mailing. I mean, I know I've personally helped quite a few people walk through these things, even if it's just a matter of they want to do the mailing, they want me to log on through GoToAssist and watch them go through every step of the way, making sure they're hitting all the right things, making sure they're choosing the correct service type and all that. We'll watch you do it, watch you complete a full service mailing, make sure you do it correctly, and then you're going to do it correctly because when you validate that job on Postal One, it's going to say validate completed. That's your affirmation that you did this perfectly. So there you go. So yeah, I'd be very interested. Please, for those who decided to vote no, and I'm going to share these results with you. There we go. So good. Most of you are going to be doing full service mailings. That's awesome. Again, for those who didn't, please let us know why. We'd like to make this even easier for you. Now, you're going to have access to this webinar video. We also have tech notes on our support page. You go to our tech notes area, and in the pre-sorting section of tech notes, excuse me, the pre-sort section of tech notes, we will have one that shows you not only all the steps you need to take from downloading the Postal One application all the way through printing the confirmation page, all the steps that you need to take to do a full service mailing, but we also hit on the mailing statement setup window, where to put your mids and crids. What if you're doing a mailing for yourself? What if you're doing one for your customer? What if they're a nonprofit? That sort of thing. So yeah, so we hit on all that information as well. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this, Kristen. I'm going to throw it back to you here. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that was great. Great job. We do have a few questions from our audience, and it looks like we've got about 8 minutes left. So if you're okay with it, Eric, I'd like to go ahead and field some of those questions.
Make them easy. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's see here. The first one was when you were going through the pre-sort setup window. In the Zip+4, you stated that the customer needs to enter their zip code in there. The customer says, we have the post office where we drop zip code, and we also have the SCF checked. Is this correct? So I think they're asking for some clarification of what actual Zip+4 needs to go into that mail drop setup area.
Yeah, it's all tied to the permit number that you're using, because if you enter a customer's permit number in the mailing statement setup window, but you enter your zip code in here, that's going to end up being a problem. You'll get I believe a by4 error. You're going to get some other error. Actually, you're not even going to get a by4 error. You're going to get an error right when you try to verify or validate, I should say, saying that the numbers don't match. So it should be the zip code of where the permit is held. Now, if you're a Mail Anywhere participant, and by doing full service mailings, you can become a Mail Anywhere participant. And Mail Anywhere means you can have your permit in one place, but you can drop anywhere at any facility. Well, we do have an answer for that. You're going to put in your Mail Anywhere zip code here, and then over here in Print Presort. Let me get back to this area here. You'd put your Mail Anywhere zip code and your Mail Anywhere account number over here, and then and then you'd put your verification as a +4 there. So that's how you go about tackling that.
Okay, excellent. Then another question is, do you still need to go through the TEM environment before submitting your full service mailing, or do you just go for it?
I think you should go for it, but I mean, there are different opinions on that, so follow your heart.
But
I would.
Have to. You don't
you
have
don't have
to.
to. Yeah, there was a time when you. Yeah, there was a time when you had to. There's a time you had to do a lot of things that you don't have to do anymore. But there was a time that you had to go through TEM. TEM is like the testing environment for mailers. That was like a sandbox, so you can try out your jobs there. In fact, if I go back to the electronic data exchange here.
And while you're getting there, just a kind of a little background on that is you did used to have to go through TEM, but what AccuZip did is we actually worked directly with the post office, and we said, why don't you make us vendors, rather than putting the burden on our customers, let us vendors go through a certification process that if they are using a certified mail.dat product that's already gone through the process, don't make them certify separately through TEM. So you used to have to do that, then AccuZip worked with the post office, and now since you're using a product like AccuZip, you do not have to go through TEM. Like Eric said, it could be best practice and you're definitely welcome to, but it's not something you have to do because you are using our software.
Yeah, I mean, the people that I walk through, I never have them go through TEM. That's my personal thing. And brand new people that are brand new to mailing, we still download only the production client. We don't bother with the pre-production. Now, I mess with some of the pre-production with this webinar. Ignore that part if you saw pre-production in the Postal One application. But no, I have people download the production client, just this area here. Download the production client, do the validation with the production client, and again, if the validation is successful, the job is going to be just fine. So. There you go. I don't see a need for the testing environment for mailers anymore.
Okay, excellent. So we've got quite a few more questions. I'm going to go ahead and I'll take 2, maybe 3 more questions here. This first one, the first of the last 3, and like I said, in all other questions, please send those to support@accuzip.com with the subject of this webinar, and we'll be putting a consolidated Q&A. But this one is, do I have to, if I upload to Postal One, is it necessary to print the hard copy paperwork to take over with your mailing? Do they have specific rules on this, or is it just personal preference?
Yeah, I'd say it's personal preference. I recommend people at least make a PDF of their hard copy paperwork. You don't have to take part. The whole point of this is to not take hard copy paperwork to the post office. You still need to print out an 8125. Unless you're doing seamless acceptance, which is something you can get into after you've been successful with full service for a while. Seamless acceptance requires palletization. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Sorry about that. But anyway, no, you don't have to take hard copy paperwork. Yeah, personal preference. Keep it for yourself if you want. If you want to compare mailings, next month's mailing of the same list with last month's might be a nice idea, at least to make a PDF of your paperwork. But no, it's not required. The confirmation page is not even required to print out. It just makes it a little bit easier. But print out your qualification report, print out your mailing statement. It's a waste of paper, a waste of time. They don't need any of that stuff. They're not going to do anything with it. So nope,
excellent.
Not at all.
Okay, and this one I know we have an answer for. What if your mailing date changes?
Okay, well, you can come back here, and I mean, you can remove the job from the dashboard, and there's a couple of ways to do that. So let's say you've put in a date of the 18th, and you've already uploaded I assume this means you've uploaded your job to Postal One already. Well, we do have this nice little feature here, this cancel and delete mail.dat job button, where when you hit this thing, it's going to create a cancel file and it's going to create a delete file, and then you can upload these. You can launch the Postal One application and upload these files, cancel first and then delete, to the Postal One application. So you upload cancel, it uploads successfully, then you upload delete, and it uploads successfully, and now we can come in here, go into print reports, and change the mail date. So if I want to do it next week. I can change it to the 25th, hit print. It's going to write the new date to our mail.dat files, and now we can upload the job to Postal One again. So that's how you go about doing it. You can also go to the dashboard and delete the job from the dashboard as well, and then excuse me, and then go ahead and change the mail date here. But that's how you go about changing the date. You just hit print reports. You don't have to pre-sort again. I recommend not pre-sorting again. Go into print reports, change the date here, and then hit print. And incidentally, if you're not sure how to, if you're at this screen and you're not sure how to get back to that print pre-sort window, if you always have a habit of pre-sorting again, please don't pre-sort again. It's gonna rewrite new unique ID numbers. Not the way to go about it. Hit print pre-sort, and then your job should show up here. If it doesn't, then just hit the database pull-down menu and choose your file name, and do it that way. There is actually, I noticed that we're kind of out of time here, but there is one more thing I wanted to quickly point out. I mentioned if you have 2 or more licenses of AccuZip, you can share a mailer ID. To do that, hit Intelligent Mail Setup and go to Shared IM Barcode Serial Number Path. And all you're going to do here is double-click on this little icon and choose a path on your network. Choose a folder on a network drive that both licenses can see, and AccuZip will write your serial numbers, log your serial numbers to that location. And that's, again, how you share the same mailer ID among 2 different computers attached to the same network. So very important step there.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, and then excellent. And I'll answer this last question because I thought it was important that Eric brought up AccuTrace, especially with the volume of jobs that it looks like our audience is doing with over 50 mailings a month. With AccuTrace, somebody asked, can you use AccuTrace for mailings that are done by another mailing agent, mailings that are not directly handled by us? The answer to that is absolutely. So all we need to do is, and we'll work hand in hand with you, is the post office just has to, we send them a simple email that has them push the scan data for whatever MIDs that you want tracked. So your mailing agent, if they handle the MIDs, if you handle the MIDs, we just need, it's a simple, like I said, a simple email that we have a template that says AccuZip has permission to receive scan data for these particular MIDs. And it would either be you that would sign up for the AccuTrace service, or your mailing agent can sign up for the AccuTrace service. So you do not have to own AccuZip to use AccuTrace. But it's a great, great tool, almost imperative in these days of where you need accountability and visibility and tangibility to really show, and you're already doing the hard part. So you're already now printing the IMB, you're now submitting the job full service. Now, one more added benefit, and like Eric mentioned, you can make it an additional revenue stream or an additional value add to keep your customers by now sending them these reports. You can send them a link to these reports that doesn't require a login, so you can just make it standard practice where every job that you mail for your customer comes with a tracking link. So that really gives them, hands-on, and you've created that relationship with them by providing them even more visibility as their mail service provider, or vice versa with the other question, your mail service provider who's actually doing the mailing can provide that back to you. So we've got, it looks like several other questions, which means that you guys are very engaged, and we still have quite a few attendees, so that's fantastic. Great job, Eric, and thank you all. We had some really active participants on the polls. So I'll just wrap this up with kind of repeating some of the stuff I did at the beginning. The recorded webinar will be posted in the next few days on accuzip.com/webinars. So that's going to be posted there. It will require your account number to log in and download it because this is a benefit to current AccuZip customers and partners. And any of your other questions and answers that did not get answered that you posted in the Q&A box, no need to resend those via email. We have a log of all of those, and we'll be including those on that one sheet. If you didn't post your question to the Q&A box and still have some questions, we have all different ways to get a hold of us. You can email those to support with the subject of the webinar. Our live chat is a great tool, accuzip.com/chat. And you can pick up the phone and call us, 805-461-7300. We always answer the phone Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time. So all different ways to get a hold of us. And we encourage you, if you're that 27% or whatever it is that's not doing full service, get on board. It's going to be required before you know it. Eric already touched on all the benefits that you can receive now. So there's really no reason you shouldn't be doing it. So next time we do this webinar, we want 100% of people doing full service. And we'll take a look at the questions or the comments on people for whatever reason that you're not doing it. But again, very impressive that at the end of the day, it looked like after this webinar, over 84% of you are going to be doing full service mailings. So that's great. Testament to you being proactive and hopefully to our support and to Eric's education that he presented here. So lastly, thank you again, and unless Eric has any closing words, I'll go ahead and stop the recording and let everybody get back on with their day.
Yeah, thanks for everybody taking your time out of your day to enjoy this webinar. Thank you, Kristen.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.